What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. And if you like books like Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, you can go to my newsletter in the description, and you'll get a free PDF of my Flying Sparks Volume 1. I think folk who are into this vibe will absolutely love it. It's free, so nothing to lose. All right. This is Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane by Sean McKeever. And what's Miyazawa's first name? Takeshi Miyazawa. And this is a book that came out in like 2005. Not this edition, but the actual comic did. And Sean McKeever was kind of like a sleeper rising star at the time. I had read his Sentinel and was a big fan of the Sentinel book, which is something that really hasn't been talked about in a lot of years. It's only got weird digest versions, and of course this is kind of like a weird digest version of the book. It's smaller than standard comic size. I don't have a standard comic on me, so I can't really compare for you. And I don't know why his books are only released like that by Marvel. I really want like a normal size complete collection, or even like an oversized omnibus of this. But I read some of this back then, forgot it because it was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it is now. And I rediscovered it recently because Terry Moore posted about a month ago that he did the cover for Volume 3, which this is not Terry Moore's art. And so I was like, oh, cool, I loved that series. I want to go back and revisit it, and I read it again. All right, so this is Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane, the real thing. This is even though they're not titled Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, because Marvel's getting smarter about just making it so people can pick things up. It is the first of the series, and it does behoove you to start here. So it collects Mary Jane 1 through 4, which is a limited series, Mary Jane Homecoming 1 through 4, and Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane 1 through 3. So you get 11 issues of content in here. I'm guessing they did this smaller size just to make it feel more like manga for manga readers, because the art really is very manga-like. The storyline is very shoujo manga-like, and it reads a lot like that, so it makes sense. Mary Jane is a high school girl here, and this is out of normal Spider-Man continuity, and it does just follow Mary Jane. She's hanging out at this place called the Coffee Bean with Liz Allen, who later becomes Harry Osborn's wife in continuity, Flash Thompson, who is Liz's boyfriend at the time, and Harry Osborn. And she's getting pressured into dating Harry Osborn at the time. And Spider-Man's just kind of in the background, and he just like shows up, and from her perspective, he's just kind of fighting a guy in the middle of the street, and she kind of sees it. You get this really cool, like I said, it's very nice manga style art. I love manga, and I really wish they'd do stuff in color, and this makes me happy because it's basically manga in color. And Mary Jane develops a crush on Spider-Man at this point, and Spider-Man kind of knows who she is, so she's kind of like, And this is Peter Parker right here, who really is only in a few scenes in the early books here. He's just so in the background, she doesn't even notice him because he's kind of a wallflower and he doesn't get noticed. Pretty neat. I just love the way that this develops. The characters are just so well done. They're all very distinct. They'll talk very distinct. They act very distinct. And it's just beautifully, beautifully done. The pressure of the romance with Harry, as he's like, he's a rich guy and he's a nice guy and he really is attentive and does all the things right. But she just doesn't feel right with him. And she's got this crush on Spider-Man. So Mary Jane, of course, in the middle of this, the next part is very cool. I love the art. Oh my gosh. It's really beautiful. Bright colors all the way around. I gotta, who's the colorist? I gotta hand it to the colorist, who don't get enough attention ever. It's Christina Strain. I have no idea who she is, but what I really like is this bright color palette, because a lot of comics have like such a dark, oversaturated color palette that it really stands out when you get something like this, and it just makes you happy to read it. It just feels good. So Mary Jane wants to go to Homecoming. She wants to go with Spider-Man. And she's getting pressured, of course, to go with Harry. And she is wants to buy her own dress, wants to buy her own way, because Harry is at this point, you know, buying everything for her, and it's making her uncomfortable. So she's working after school, and it's making her grades suffer. You get just a lot of slice of life stuff. This really reads purely like a shoujo manga, slice of life, romance. Some of the best of them. And then Spider-Man is just kind of in the background a lot of the time. And she barely gets to meet him over the course of things. In the next installment, of course, Homecoming happens, and Liz Allen is seeing that Flash is kind of getting distance with her, and she's getting really angry about it. And lots of miscommunication stuff, because that's how this stuff goes. And Flash has a big crush on Mary Jane. And Mary Jane kind of finds this out and is like, dude, you're dating my friend, stop. And, of course, you know, they hug at some point, and it all breaks down from there. So all the relationships really start to break down. And, of course, in classic romance fashion, this is just perfect romance comic book in every regard. I'm jealous of the ability to write this well. So, continues on that, and Homecoming happens. And shockingly, the Mary Jane becomes Homecoming Queen, and I loved this football scene. So, of course, like, it's the cheesy football scene where the home team, you know, has to win at the last second, kick the field goal, and the twist, which is, like, this made it all, like, I was like, meh, on these pages. This is the only pages I was like, that's a little campy. But when the football hit the Spider-Man web, because he's fighting the Vulture in the middle of the the goalpost, that redeemed it. It was pretty funny. Lots of little laughs here, and lots of heart tug emotions. And that the whole gang kind of breaks up at the end of Homecoming, and Peter Parker finally gets to start talking to Mary Jane a little bit as Homecoming ends. And then we start the Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane series proper right here. And at the beginning of this, Mary Jane's just got this crush on Spider-Man, and Peter Parker's now tutoring her and helping her out in this. And everything's awkward with Liz Allen and Mary Jane at this point. And Flash Thompson doesn't like Peter hanging around Spider-Man. And Mary Jane's like determined, I'm going to date Spider-Man at this point. And Peter Parker, of course, knows that everything that's going on since he is Spider-Man. Spoiler. And he's just like, no, it's never going to happen. The other thing that starts to develop here is Mary Jane's acting. So Mary Jane's an actor / model in the actual comic books. And so she starts to get into drama as like a way to kind of have a hobby, you know, now that her friends are kind of upset with her and she needs something to do to take her mind off things. And it turns out she's really good at it. And she gets involved in the acting and becomes the lead role right away. And a gal gets really jealous about that and then starts to try to mess with her by dating Harry Osborn. And Liz Allen, of course, kind of starts to get back and hanging with Mary Jane in this and starts to mess with this other gal because of that. And Peter, of course, gets in the middle of it also. So there's lots of good drama stuff starting up again. And then at the end of it, Spider-Man shows up and he goes, I want to go out sometime. So this is a perfect spot to end the volume, of course, because that's a nice little cliffhanger. You get the designs by Takeshi Miyazawa. Look at those. Beautiful art. Absolutely stunning. And some of the breakdowns here. And that's it. So that is the book, Volume 1. I am super excited for this. This is 10 out of 10. Maybe the best Spider-Man period out there. I know that's a very tall thing to say, but it is really up there. I mean, it's very different, obviously, than the superheroic stuff, where it's, you know, a lot of beat-up stuff. But this is just quality character work and quality everything. So, highly recommend picking this up. There's 2 more volumes of it. The best part about this, even though, you know, like I said, it's undersized for a comic, which is kind of annoying, but you can get these for $12.99, and for that many issues at $12.99, you know, it's pretty good. Like I said, I think they're trying to just get manga people over, because that's about the price of, like, a manga volume. All right, hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. We'll be back soon, everybody.